Well, hey, welcome back to Questions About Life podcast. I'm Brian Fleming.
And I'm Daniel Broome.
And I woke up this morning and my wife and I watched The Hangover. Because...
Did you guys have a hangover?
Ish. But a little bit. We had some vodka last night. And I think my wife had a little more than me. Or a little more of a hangover. But, you know, it's Tuesday night somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, now that you guys watched the first one? Now you got to do the other two tonight.
I know.
Hangover 2 and 3 tonight.
We've seen the other two. And, I think the first is still my favorite. But, yeah.
For sure. Yeah, it's the best one.
Wake up and watch Zach Galifianakis get punched out by Mike Tyson because they stole his tiger.
That guy marries the stripper.
Yep.
A dentist. He married the stripper.
And they keep giving him shit because he keeps calling himself a doctor, and they're like, "You're just a dentist.
You're not a real doctor.
You're not a real doctor. You're a dentist."
At least he's not a chiropractor, right?
Yeah, that's a whole different level too. Yeah. Which, no offense, chiropractors, but there's some stuff to that actually. Actually, who was it? Oh, I heard somebody talk about how chiropractic, and we'll get to the real topic here in a minute.
We do have a question for today.
Yeah. Somebody was talking about how chiropractic started with a guy who was like an energy healer, quote unquote.
Like Reiki? Have you ever heard of Reiki?
Yeah. I actually had a pretty good experience, and my wife had an amazing experience, even more mind-blowing than mine. We could talk about sometime. When I had it, I didn't realize it was a Reiki massage.
Yeah.
But
isn't that no touch though?
Yeah, they don't
touch.
touch.
Like no touch, right? That's what I thought. I have a good friend that's and his wife are into that stuff. I haven't looked into it much. I was just wondering because you said healing, so I was wondering if it was Reiki.
Yeah. Well, energy. Well, I don't know, like with as far as like how chiropractic began, but I heard that the person who started it was a sort of quote unquote energy healer, whatever that means.
Yeah.
That sounds kind of woo-woo, so not that it is or isn't. I don't know enough about it. I don't know how much of it is like, oh, that's actual science medicine. I don't know. I mean, most chiropractors, I've only known a few chiropractors. And again, I'm not making a blanket statement about all of them, but most of them I've met, they seem to be very highly opinionated, and they don't seem to like medical doctors. So it's almost like MDs are the bad guys. Like, we know what's really going on.
They're the bad boys of medicine, right?
I guess,
Yeah.
which, I mean, I guess it depends on how you look at it. I'm not saying if you're a chiropractor that you're an asshole who hates medical doctors, or a shyster or snake oil salesman. I'm just saying I don't totally understand it, and yeah. I don't want anyone fucking with my neck and back. So.
I've never been to a chiropractor. I like, my wife goes, and I have friends that go. They swear by it. I have friends that have like memberships to chiropractic places.
Oh, really?
Where it's like you can go unlimited times, just pay a flat fee.
So they feel good walking out then.
Yeah. Remember when I did that running challenge, 4x4x48?
Yeah, the David Goggins thing or something?
Yeah, two of the guys I did it with, just in the middle of it, like during one of our 3-hour breaks, it was like, yeah, we're going to the chiropractor, and they came back and kept running with us.
Nice.
Yeah. So
interesting.
Yeah, they swear by it. I've never been. I should probably go though. I've got a bad back.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I've only known one or two people who went to them, and again, this is probably the bad stories, but they're like, I'm more fucked up now than I was before I went, and then they're like, oh, but come back and we'll fix it, and then they were like, if I didn't go to you, there wouldn't be a fucking problem to fix. Yeah. So, no, that's not everybody, obviously. Yeah. That's just a couple I've known. So I'm like, well, I'm the kind of guy who's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I feel good. Sure. I have no reason to go. Now, I love massages, though. I mean, I do massages, like, aside from sex, massages are the greatest things in the world.
Yeah.
And sometimes those two get mixed depending on what part of the country or the world you're in. We're not condoning it.
Or even
I'm just stating a matter of fact, or neighborhood. Where do you live again?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like massages. It's just muscular. It's not like joints and bones, and I'm kind of creeped by that. Then I've always heard bones popping when I've been around it. Like friends who go get it, and it's always this crack, bang. You're like, oh, did you hear that? And I'm like, yeah. That sounded awful.
Yeah. Supposedly, like that pop, even when you crack your knuckles or whatever, supposedly that sound is air bubbles being released from the joints in your bones or something like that. It's just a release of air bubbles.
Interesting.
It's what I've read. Yeah. I don't know for sure.
So is the air supposed to stay in there, or is it better to leave? Or I wonder.
I think it's okay to release it.
Okay. I was always told growing up, if you keep doing that, you'll have arthritis when you're older.
Yeah, I think that's. I was told that too, and
I don't know if it's true.
I think I've read that is not true.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we were told a lot of shit growing up. They were like, I don't know how true that is.
Yeah, I mean the Tooth Fairy, Exhibit A.
yeah.
Exactly.
I have no hair on my hands. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows?
I'm not blind. I don't have hairy palms. And I thought that I would have by now.
I know. I was trying to be like Teen Wolf, and nothing worked. Yeah.
Yeah.
But today's topic, Daniel, you came up with, and go ahead and tell us what it's all about. What's the question?
So today's question is, we hear a lot from, I don't know where the idea originated, but you hear it from a lot of places that the answer is love. And our today's topic is going to be, is the answer really love? And there's a lot to unpack there, right? Because first of all, the answer to what?
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Right? The answer to what? And I think this particular question is when people use that statement, well, the answer is love, I think that they're referring to many of the world's biggest problems.
Wars, social justice,
racism, depression, violence, everything, anything that you consider a problem, racism, all of that stuff. Is the answer really love? And so I've got some thoughts on that, but I don't know what are your initial reactions?
Well, I think, like you said, what do we mean by the answer is love? Like you said, the answer to what? I mean, if it's a big problem, it's probably made up of many separate, smaller problems that constructed up into the big giant pyramid of a problem that it is.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, is love the answer to everything? I think it's a big answer to most problems, but we're humans, so we just don't fucking do it. And it's kind of like in our nature not to do it. It's like we know that love would make most things in the world better, but we don't do it, and we never have, and we're probably never going to. As much as I want to hope, we don't have a very good track record that gives me hope that we're ever going to do that.
Well, it seems like sometimes we do. It's just that we don't always.
It depends.
Yeah.
Like September 11th, horrible violence. September 12th, people loved the shit out of each other. Yeah. They were digging through buildings.
Patriotism.
Oh, they were digging through buildings. Like, crime went down in certain cities. I mean, people were, like, sacrificing themselves, trying to dig other people out of this rubble. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, I mean, like, it's in us.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's kind of like a roller coaster. It's like, is today a loving day, or is it today like a go to war and kill people day?
Yeah, it's like situation by situation almost.
Like situational, yes. Yeah. Is love situational?
Yeah.
Because, all we need is love. Well, we need food too. We need water too. Mm-hmm. But then you could argue and say, well, if we all loved each other, we'd all share with each other and no one would be in need. Okay, like that makes sense. Like,
yeah. Yeah. Those are great points. I have almost every single one of those points you made. I have like I want to expand on.
Yeah, go for it.
But my initial reaction to the question is sort of like yours. Like, we've already asked, well, the answer to what? But also, we have to define love.
What is love? Yeah. Baby, don't hurt me. Doug Butabi, Steve Butabi.
Yeah, right.
Night at the Roxbury, baby. Saturday Night Live.
Yeah. So, like, what is love? I mean, if love is just constantly being nice to everybody, I don't think that that's a good definition of love. And I'll give you an example. Like, I have two young sons. One of them's about to be 6. One of them just turned 3. And just like young kids do, just like we did when we were little boys, they do dumb stuff. They want to do dumb stuff, right? Yeah. And some of it's dangerous, and and sometimes I'll tell them not to do those things, and they'll do them anyway. Obviously, I love my sons. It's like everybody loves their kids.
Pretty much a given for most people.
Yeah, most people would say like the strongest sense of love I feel is for my children. So, but sometimes they don't listen, but I love them, and so as an act of love, sometimes I'll let them continue doing it and get themselves hurt and figure it out for themselves, because there's no more powerful way to learn than like, see, I told you that was going to happen.
Yeah.
And so now my kid's got a skinned knee, and but I did that. He's got a skinned knee out of act of love from me, because I wanted him to learn that. That's one like.
Well, and if you really love your kids too, you have to realize that making them dependent on you might not be the most loving thing. Making dependence on you unnecessary can be one of the most loving things, because one day that kid's going to grow up. Yeah. And the world's not going to do him any favors, nor is it going to do my kids any favors.
Right.
And they have to be able to like adapt in situations and figure things out and make choices, deal with consequences or rewards that come with those.
Yep.
And if we raise them to think there are no consequences, or Dad will always be here to tell me what to do, not to do, that's kind of cutting their legs out from under them. Plus, you just give them good reason to go do what they wanted to do anyway, because some kids, like me, you tell me not to do something, now I want to do it worse than ever.
Yeah.
Just because I'm defiant.
Well, yeah. Well, and to your point,
I'm a little bastard. Yeah.
To your point, though, that's a philosophy. I agree with you on that. That's how I like to raise my children too. But not everybody feels that way. And another parent might say, or feel or act in a way where it's like, oh, I'm gonna just coddle them, and they're gonna live in this bubble, and I'm gonna protect them from everything. And they mean well. It's actually, my opinion, I think yours is too, is that they're not actually raising someone like a good person.
Responsible, productive adults.
Exactly. So
they're 34 and still living at home.
Right.
Like, you're wrong.
So, but the mom or the dad that's parenting in that way believes that they're acting out of love, right?
Yes.
We think that they're wrong for being that way, but they're also acting out of love. So back to the definition of love is just like, we really have to define what love is to know if it's the answer. But there is evidence that perhaps love is the answer. And because a lot of times people will have that revelation during a psychedelic trip. We've talked about psychedelic trips a lot on this podcast. And some people will come out of psychedelic trips and say, oh, I got it all figured out. The answer is love. That's all we got to do is fucking love each other, right? Yep. But if we take it out of that context and we just are in this realm, there's evidence all around us that maybe love isn't necessarily the answer. Maybe it is, but it definitely helps. So, 'cause for example, like I've rarely seen anything get accomplished because somebody was acting in a hateful manner. But however, if I act in a loving manner, and love encompasses so many things, like if I'm patient with somebody, I'm showing an act of love. Or if
if you need to discipline one of your workers or employees or something, and if you don't come at them like an asshole, but you come at them with, look, here's what happened, and you're like giving benefit of the doubt, things like that, but you're still taking corrective action, like that's loving, because you could have just kicked them right out the door.
Sure.
And told them they're a piece of shit and everything else. And, some people deserve that, I think. At certain times, maybe we all do. But not doing that is an act of love.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you just go... Because what's the opposite of love? It's hate, right? We can agree on that. So, I don't know any time that anybody's accomplished anything through hate.
Yeah, I mean, then again, people have their own ideas based on what they've been taught or told or how they think, what's the opposite of love? I would say hate. I've heard other people say, like, oh, it's indifference. It's like not doing anything. Mm-hmm. But then it's like, okay, well, is it your place to do something? Or is it not your place to do something? That could be from supporting or resisting a hate crime or something. Or like when the whole Black Lives Matter thing, blew up in 2020, I saw plenty of black people saying, hey, white people, basically, if you're not out here with us, you're against us, you're part of the problem.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but you're burning down your fucking city. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to go out there and associate myself with that.
Right.
And then be like,
That's a good
oh, I
point.
was just supporting. No, you're supporting domestic terrorism is what you're doing. And like, I get it. You're pissed off. Like I never met one person who was like, yeah, George Floyd, that was okay. Like, no, nobody of any color anywhere said that was okay.
True.
So I understand why so many African Americans are pissed off.
Yeah.
But it's not the most loving thing for me to go down there and associate myself with people who are fucking destroying innocent people's properties and killing people
100%.
who had nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
It's
a lot
like
of
that
innocent
even-
people actually did die during
Oh, yeah.
riots. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. And that's not love.
Yeah. What about the cops who didn't do a George Floyd kind of thing? Like, they're just like, it's a hardworking single mom who happens to be a cop, and they walked up and fucking shot her through the window and ran.
Yeah.
And it's like, she didn't do anything.
There was a guy in Dallas that got a business owner. He was just out boarding up his windows.
Yeah.
And he got beat to death.
Yeah.
Just some random business owner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, well, oh, you don't support us. It's like, that ain't love, so I can't do that, And that's why I like what Mother Teresa said. Somebody asked her, I heard this story years ago. They're asking her to march, I think, in a protest against the Vietnam War. And she said something to the effect of, I will not march in a protest against war, but if you have a march for peace, I'll go with you. So in other words, they were, fighting back against, and understandably, I get it, but even what she said was, I won't march against something, but I'll march for peace. And if you do that, then I'll go with you.
Interesting.
So it's a different perspective on,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, hey, come down to our for example, in 2020, maybe our BLM march, like, support us.
Uh-huh.
It's like, well, like, I love my black friends, and I do believe in equality. But what's going to happen down there that I'm seeing on the news, potentially, because there, and my whole thing was, there's a difference between knowing and loving my black friends and agreeing their lives matter, and the political organization that shares that 3-word name, Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
Like, that's a political organization that I think started with great intent, but then it got so much power and politicized, it just went off the fucking rails.
Well, did you hear about what the founders did with all the donations?
Well, they
Have you
like
seen
buy
that?
mansions and shit.
They bought a bunch of mansions in
Yeah.
L.A.
Yeah, go figure. Yeah.
Yeah. And
What else is new? Yeah.
right? And it's
Oh yeah, you stood for a good cause, and you just like profiteered off everybody.
Yeah, and it's not surprising, and it's not that it's not surprising because they're black.
Of course not.
It's not surprising because they're human, and it seemed like just a poorly organized. I mean, or organized movement. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, that in particular was around such a hot topic that was relevant in the moment. It was such a hot topic because the George Floyd thing happened, and a couple others had, within a couple years of that happened, that were completely fucked up.
And it was also after months of lockdowns.
Yeah.
That happened. A lot of people are going to forget that context, is that we were in the depths.
It's almost like they were stoking the fire
lockdowns,
until everything just fucking blew.
Yeah, young people, well, not just young people, everybody were no social interaction. We're all at home. We're all stockpiling toilet paper,
And what's
nobody's going to concerts and enjoying their summers and swimming.
Yeah.
And then
What's everyone's source of information? Your phone, the news, social media,
Yeah.
which most of that's bullshit anyway.
Yeah.
It's a narrative that you're being handed, not necessarily what happened. Mm-hmm. And people believe anything.
Well, that was the first excuse for anybody to get out of the house, especially young people that are
You're not gonna tell me I can't go to a protest.
yeah, well, they enjoy being social. Everybody enjoys being social, but
Yeah.
especially when you're in your teens and your 20s, you want to get out, you want to be around people, you want to do these things, and nothing was happening all over the planet. There was nowhere to go to socialize with people until the protests started, and it was like, oh, we got an excuse, we got somewhere to go now. And then,
what are you gonna do? Send the local police department out to like say you can't be out here, and there's like 5,000 of you with bats.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the military doesn't have enough people to contain if everyone gets together.
Right.
Like there's not enough.
Yeah, well, they got enough
Well, they got firepower and other
enough
stuff.
firepower.
You'd be like slaughtering thousands of people. It'd be like, humanitarian crimes going on there.
For sure, yeah.
It would literally be war crimes from like the president or whoever's like dropping bombs on his own city, killing protesters. Like,
true.
Yeah. Kind of like we do in other people's countries. It would just be happening
Right.
here. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you brought up other countries, right? Because I was thinking about this on the way over here about this question. And, here's another sort of dynamic that we have is because when you ask the question, is love really the answer? One fact, something that we have to factor in is that war happens. It's happening right now. There's war. There's
Many
always
wars.
war going on, right? And that is, to me, is the opposite of love. And, like we were both in the Army, and we were both. You were in combat, but we were both in sort of that world where we were training to go to war. You actually went to war.
We were both infantry guys. Yeah, infantry has one job: you're trained to kill. That's all you do. That's the job.
Yeah, and part of that is like dehumanizing the enemy. Right, it happened in World War II when, cause, you talk to an old World War II vet, they'll go, "Oh, those fucking Japs, they should all fucking die." Right,
fucking Krauts, the Nazis,
Vietnam, the Viet Cong, the kooks, and same thing with the wars in the Middle East. The
ragheads, whatever the name,
those sheep fuckers and everything else. We dehumanize
goat, not sheep.
Goats?
I guess sheep are.
I don't know which one.
Potato. They have them both. So
yeah, they're both four-legged farm animals. But that's part of it, right?
You're not wrong.
But let's isolate that one like demographic, right? Let's talk about an infantryman from Afghanistan or whatever, like from ISIS. Let's talk about an ISIS member,
like a Taliban or ISIS guy.
Yeah, and here in America, one of the things we think of right away is like, well, fuck that guy. He's dangerous and whatever. And they're doing the same thing over there. You think of like an American soldier here, we think of him as a hero. Like, bless our troops, and he's fighting for us and everything else. And I think the reason for that is we understand where that American troop is coming from. We've been through the same Pledge of Allegiance through school. We live here in America. We know how great it is.
Grew up in the same narrative,
so
to speak, and how life is supposed to be or is. Yeah.
Yeah. We're all scared of the Taliban and ISIS. But the same thing's happening over there, where they're like, they understand why this guy wants to kill Americans. They've been through a different indoctrination program and everything else.
Oh, and they know America's history track record, too. Like, from World War II on to, like, Korea, Vietnam, Kosovo, Afghanistan, Iraq. Like, they're probably going, well, fuck, America goes everywhere and kills a bunch of people. And in a way, we kind of do.
Yeah.
I mean, how justified is it or not? Kind of, but...
Yeah. Well, the point I'm making, though, is like... the more you get to know, or the more familiar you are with somebody, the more grace you give them, the more patience you give them, the more love you give them. And I have a theory about that. The reason I think that is like for example, we're friends, and if if something bad was going to happen to you, I'd want to try to help prevent that.
Yeah.
Because you're my friend, and I don't want. And the reason is we've spent time together. I've gotten to know you. I know where you're coming from. I know who you are. I know why you feel the way about things that you feel. I have a general. I'm not saying I completely understand you, because some of us I don't even understand myself.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm familiar with you.
Yeah.
And so, me not wishing any ill will on you is I would consider a form of love. But if it's somebody I'm completely unfamiliar with, he's in the Taliban, I don't understand the style, with this.
They dress weird,
that funny hat,
they talk weird.
Why does he? Why don't they eat pork or whatever? I'm just not familiar. But if I went and spent some time with that guy, if I went and spent a week on an island with him, I wouldn't want him to die anymore. Right?
Probably not.
Right?
Yeah. No, I agree.
Oh, I'm sorry. Last thing. The point I was going to try to get to is the more familiar we get with somebody, the more we recognize ourselves in that person.
Yeah.
Right? I'm like, oh, I see the similarities. Like, oh, he likes classic rock too, or fucking whatever. You know, he loves his family too.
We just went to the Roger Waters concert last Saturday, you and I.
That was a good time.
That was great. It was a great time.
That was a good time.
Yeah, I look what you're saying. Because basically it's, the more we get to know a person, the harder it is to fucking kill them.
Yeah. Or said another way, maybe Mother Teresa would say it this way, the more we get to know somebody, the easier it is to love them.
Yeah, exactly. That's like the flip side of that coin in the other direction, which is I think is equally true.
Yeah.
Because I've said this before, like I'd rather have coffee with a terrorist than kill him. Mm-hmm. At least if we have to go to war and kill each other, I would rather at least have sat down and had coffee first, not under the premise of I'm trying to get out of it or he's trying to get out of it, but like, let's just hang. Like, yeah. And then it's like, oh, you got 2 kids also? Dude, here, get my wallet. Like, dude, here are my kids. Oh, those are your kids?
So powerful, right?
Yeah.
Because now you've got that similarity, and now it's almost, we talk about this a lot about conversing online. You don't really get to.
It's impersonal.
Yeah, it's impersonal. Same thing. Now you realize, and after he shows you his 2 kids, like, oh, those 2 kids are going to lose their dad if I kill them, and I know I have that I know what that looks like because it's the same as if my 2 kids lost their dad.
Yeah, which I might not come back from the war, and I almost didn't on a few occasions.
Yeah, you got a Purple Heart in it was Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got.
Yeah.
You got a Purple Heart for getting blown up by a suicide bomber.
Fucking
right?
suicide bombers hate me.
Yeah.
He certainly had an idea.
And
but
it wasn't love.
It wasn't. Or he may have been convinced it was the most loving thing because that's what his overall organization wanted him to do. So they may have been convinced this is the most loving thing you can do to the world, or for the world, is try to kill this guy and those people like him because they're the vicious murderers, the way that we see them. And yeah, it's a lot harder to kill somebody once you get to know them, and that's why you dehumanize. And we do that with social issues. Social media is really bad because it lacks that personal connection, and that's why people talk so much shit. Like, people say stuff online they would never say to your face, ever. Yeah. And people will get punched in the face a lot more, and they wouldn't say so much stupid shit if they had to say it to someone's face like you used to have to.
100%. And also, that's so true.
And we'd have a better world because of it, because people would think twice before saying something. Or they get put on the spot by someone smarter and more informed, and now they just look like an idiot and they're completely discredited. Yeah,
yeah. Well, and also we are naturally compassionate beings, right? So, like, I think so. If I say something mean to you online, if I go, fuck you, Brian, I hope your leg gets chopped off. Online, I'm not there whenever you read it and react to it. But if I tell you that to your face, I have to see whatever emotion that brings. Maybe I hurt your feelings. Maybe I pissed you off. I have to see it in your face, right? I'm faced with the damage there.
Or maybe I insult your mother in return. Yeah. And now it's this competition of insulting, and that only leads to getting in fights, and that certainly isn't leading to love.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, well, dehumanizing, I think, was a good word that you said. It's dehumanizing on.
Yeah, it's hard to hurt somebody once you realize how much like them you are and you connect with them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd rather have coffee with a terrorist than go to war with them. If we can't settle it, okay. And you have to, and they're killing people that you have to stop it. Okay, but I think it would be talked out of most things. It's a lot like that Pink Floyd song, "Us and Them." That's what it's about. The lyrics even say, he's talking about us and them, but in the end, we're all just ordinary men. It's like they're seeing the soldiers on the battlefield, they're not causing the war. Mm-hmm. They're just the people tasked of carrying it out. And in some militaries, you don't have a choice. You have to join. And you get put in a position in a war zone where I don't want to kill this guy. He's probably just like me, like we said. But, it's like we're all just, in the end, we're all just ordinary men. And it's like we are. And there's even that story. Jocko has a great video on YouTube. I forget what it's called, but I think it was during World War I, where it was was it the British and the Russians? I don't remember who the troops were. But there was a ceasefire for Christmas. Mm-hmm. And there was 24-hour period where there was to be no fighting in the trenches.
Yeah, it was World War I.
Yeah. And they were 50, 100 to 200 feet away from each other, facing each other in battle. And they stopped fighting. They came out of the trenches. They were sharing food. They were playing soccer. They were doing things. And then they had to go back in the trenches. And nobody wanted to... You just played soccer with the guys. You got to know them. You're like, dude. But you know what? When that 24 hours or whatever that time frame was up, your command said, okay, war's back on.
Yeah.
And a lot of those guys didn't want to do it, but they had to. So they all had to fucking kill each other.
Yeah.
And they didn't have a choice because both sides were told to kill. Once the other side starts shooting again, well, fuck, we have to.
Yeah.
What are we going to do? Am I not going home to my family now? And But nobody there were so many people that didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
But it was the system over everybody. Yeah, I mean, it's like old men start, like what we said, old men start wars, young men fight them. And it's just like Brad Pitt said in the movie Troy, God forbid a king go fight his own battles, because he was talking shit to the king who wanted to bring him out because he's a good fighter. Yeah. It's like, yeah, God forbid a king or a president go fight his own wars.
Well, I've heard a lot of combat veterans say this before, that, and in the context of love, I think that this could be used is that a lot of combat veterans will say, I'm doing it for the guys beside me. These are my brothers, and so we all gotta, they're not fighting for the issue that the war's over. They're fighting because they want themselves and their brothers and sisters to go home with them. And so it made me think of that in your World War I example.
Yeah.
It's like once the ceasefire was over, the only thing that was motivating each side to start fighting each other is because they were more familiar with the people that they were in the trenches with than the people they went and spent Christmas with or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I would imagine even I wouldn't want to do that if I had just played soccer with these people and share dude, this is how bad our MRAs suck. Dude, yours are even worse, and we're laughing about it.
Yeah.
Nothing in me wants to kill that person now, but it's like both of our commands said, okay, go again. Well, in certain cases, you don't come back alone. If you don't fight, if you try to leave the battlefield, in some militaries in the past, your own guys were taught to shoot you in the back.
Yeah.
If you're not going forward to the front line. If he runs the other way, shoot them. They train it into him.
Yeah.
And so it's it doesn't matter what you think or feel or how humane, you just have to. And that's kind of the bitch of some war scenarios, I think.
Yeah, a lot of that's going on. Is going to be happening in Russia here pretty soon. You've been following that at all?
Not closely, but yeah, I hear.
Well, I think that there's so much we talk about there, but Putin just drafted 300,000 people, and
why doesn't his sorry ass grab a rifle and go out on the front lines in Ukraine?
Yeah,
if you're such a badass dude, grab yourself a fucking rifle.
Well,
just like all the young guys he sent to die. And people would say that about the American president too.
Want that. Yeah, I don't know. If we put Putin and Biden head to head, I don't like our chances.
Well, I didn't say put him head to head.
Biden has trouble riding a bike.
Yeah, he can't ride a bike or complete a fucking sentence for that matter.
But yeah.
End of script. End of teleprompt. Dude, you weren't supposed to say that.
Right.
You should know this.
Yeah.
No, I just say put his ass on the front line. Hey, Putin, you want to do this shit? Cool. Go on the front lines with your guys. Risk getting, it's you won't. But
yeah.
If you want to be a badass, that's what a real badass does.
That guy, I don't know his history very well, but I think he used to be a badass. He was
from what I understand,
KGB and martial arts expert or something like that. But yeah, he's not acting out of love. Well, some people could say that he is. There's always a way to spin it, right?
Yes.
It all goes back to what is the definition of love, because
resources are scarce over in the Soviet area, so we have to take Ukraine in order so that we don't all starve, or it's for the better good of everybody, and they don't agree, so we need to enforce it on them.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said,
he loves his country. He loves the people of his country. He's less familiar with people that are not in his country, so he feels like maybe he's acting out of love by, liberating Ukraine.
From who, themselves? I don't know the Ukraine history, but they seem pretty happy before you started rolling your fucking tanks into their backyards.
Yeah, it used to be the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
It used to be the Soviet Union, so he, So, yeah, I mean, so back to the question, is the answer really love? Well, Probably not, because love is defined in so many different ways. Because let's just assume that Putin is acting out of love for his people.
For the better good of everybody,
Yeah.
even at the expense of a few.
Yeah. And so he's practicing that love is the answer, but it doesn't fucking seem like the answer.
It's a very weird way to express love by killing people.
Yeah. So you kind of got to define. It's almost like there needs to be a better word for it than love, because love is so encompassing. I knew somebody once that defined love. They said love is an action. Love is an action word.
Yeah,
it's not.
It's a verb.
Yeah, it's a verb. Yeah, love is a verb. Yeah, and yeah, it's acts that you exercise, whether it's patience or. There's the 5 love languages, and there's so many love.
Or giving food
so many different forms.
Giving food to a homeless guy, or giving someone your jacket, because they're cold and they don't have one.
Right.
Yeah.
Giving people grace and whatever.
It can be, like you said, though, it can be spun in so many ways, and people so easily buy into narratives, no matter how fucked up sounding they are or how backwards. The wool gets pulled over human beings' eyes very easily. People are very convincible. People are very easily convinced of things with just a little bit of explanation to go, oh, that's logical. Or that, that's like the thing with not good propaganda, powerful, effective propaganda. Not good as in good and evil, but a powerful, effective propaganda. If you look at some of the most effective propaganda messages ever, you'll see that there are a lot of things they have in common, but one of the things is a lot of times there will be about maybe 1-2% truth in the message. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, okay, you don't have to agree with us, but here, we can agree on this thing, right? Yeah. But it's the whole, if you give us an inch, we're going to take 10 miles.
Yeah.
And really effective propaganda will have something in it that you sort of agree with, because that can help justify and warm you up to it. And then they'll start taking more and more subtly and trying to, psychologically convince you. And so that's so easily done, and people are so easily led astray by, you can see the craziest fucking headline on the news or on social media, and people will go, oh, did you hear about that? And then come to find out it actually wasn't what the headline said. Well, it said it, but not really that way. It said something, but it gave off this other thing, and it's not their fault someone interpreted it in that way. But what it actually said was this, but then the definition was splintered among people who received it. Yeah. So they all thought it was this thing or that thing. It's a gray area.
Yeah.
And people are easily convincible creatures. It's stupid. I've been a professional speaker for 16 years. Like, I don't tell lies. Mm-hmm. I don't tell stories that never fucking happen. I hate it when I hear about that happening.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, like, I've learned people are very convincible. I've spoken to every kind of audience you can think of. I can't think of one type of audience I've not spoken to, from politics to churches to schools, elementary, junior, high school, colleges, military. In every audience, like, people are convincible. And I've watched people get taken advantage of by people who know how to talk really good. They know the points and how to make it. They know how to whittle that in right down to the point where, like, that's like a really effective sales presentation. I remember there was one time I have this friend named Tom, and he's a really good salesman. I was actually here in Dallas at a convention where he was speaking, and he had like a $5,000 or $10,000 coaching program. Now his stuff's legit. Like what he teaches people actually makes him tons of money in like internet marketing, and so it's easily justifiable. But he gave like this 90-minute talk, and by the end of it, like 3 or 4 minutes before he was done, there were people getting up, literally jumping over tables to give him like $5,000 to $10,000 each, like 30 or 40 people. And that's just like, he had some time scarcity on it. We only have so many spots, and he did. But he had built the value up so much and hit on the pain points and the fears and what you're going to avoid and what you're going to get. Like, really good. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I remember sitting there going, that guy like in the past 3 minutes, like the people doing his transactions at a table, dude, he just made like 80 grand, like right now. And there's still people running back there going, is there still a spot open?
Yeah.
And he's got great programs. I mean, he's been teaching public speaking for years. And I just remember sitting there going, dude, if I had 10 grand right now, I'd probably do it too. And I'm going, what is in me, right? Like,
yeah.
Wait a minute. Why would I be willing to do that? Now, again, if I was in the place where I wanted to learn what he was teaching and I saw the value, of course I would. But I wasn't one of those people that day, but I'm like, dude, people just hurdled each other in tables to get back there. The first 30 people only, I only have 30 spots. These are 5 to 10 grand each. And I'm like, what is psychologically happening here? And I know now. I know how all that works.
Power of persuasion.
Yeah, it was a very persuasive presentation, and there's a particular way that's structured. Yeah. And if you're doing a good thing, like, please do it. But the thing is, you don't have to be doing a good thing to know how it works and to use it.
Yeah.
And so
evil people can use those same tactics.
Good or bad can use the tactics. Why? Because they work.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you are or your intentions, they work. What happens the same thing in social media narratives, news media narratives. People are just, I mean, most people, it seems most is relative term, but they just relatively tend to go in the direction they're told to. And they don't really question much beyond the surface of an issue when they should. Because when you start questioning beyond the surface, you start getting vilified by people who don't want you doing that.
Yeah.
Don't you start asking questions. What, you're not with us? No, I'm just asking a question. You know, we talked about this before. Mm-hmm. And if anyone ever vilifies you for asking a question, here's your big red fucking flag. Like, this might not be the best group for me. There might be something going on here. Because innocent, good-hearted people don't mind you asking questions.
Yeah, because they've got a good answer for it, and they don't mind explaining it to you.
Yeah, or they might learn something and go, you know, I didn't think of it that way. Let's look at that. Not, hey, you're threatening our narrative and our purpose. We need to shut you down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. You know who Tulsi Gabbard is? Tulsi Gabbard.
I've heard the name.
She was a congresswoman that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
From Hawaii, and she ran for president in 2020, I think. Anyway, she announced yesterday she left the Democratic Party, and she was a Democrat, and that's a lot of what she was saying was this, like, oh, this party no longer represents, you know, who I am, because. You can't ask questions. You got to go with their narrative. You got to buy into whatever they're selling, or else you're out. You're canceled. You know.
Yeah.
So, but that happens everywhere, right?
And I would imagine that probably happens. The higher up you go, probably on either side of any political party, the higher up you go, probably if people, even the fear that people might start not taking you seriously, that could sabotage your chances of being elected. Yeah. Like, whoa, hey, this guy, you know, over here, he was just saying how. He thinks Hillary Clinton might have had a good point with something, which is really bizarre to say if you're a conservative. You'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with that guy? Why would he ever think she had anything good to say?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that she's never said something good. All I've ever heard about her is just, what the news tells you about her. And, you also look at somebody's history.
The Clinton family has murdered a bunch of people.
I mean, that family has a track record. Like, you don't have to, like if I say something against the Clinton family, it's like, well, and you don't like it, it's like, dude, they have a track record. They've been around a long time. Like, they actually have a history. Like, you can go back and look, and most people don't know enough about it to argue it anyway.
Yeah, I don't know what the body count, they call it the body count. I don't know what the body count is now, but there's a movement of people. I don't know if it's called a movement. There's a group of people that have noticed that, and it's a big number. I don't know what the number is. It's like in the 30s or something, 30-something people that were affiliated with or worked for the Clintons somehow that have committed suicide. And a lot of these people that have committed suicide shot themselves twice in the back of the head. Or
what a weird MO. Yeah. All of them.
How do you shoot yourself twice? I mean, I guess you can go real fast.
I don't think you're squeezing that second round.
I don't think you are either.
Like, I've never shot myself in the head, and I don't plan on it.
Yeah, I don't think you are either.
That's pretty amazing if you could pull off 2 rounds, and all of them did it.
Well, they're not all that way. Like, a lot of them, some of them are, car accidents, or
Yeah.
it's just all these
Epstein
accidents
didn't
keeps
kill
happening.
himself. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know as many people. I'm not associated with maybe as many people as the Clintons are, but I can't imagine 30 of my close associates
They all did that.
dying of suicide.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Getting suicided. Yeah.
getting suicided. Yeah.
That was the running joke a couple years ago when she ran for president. Oh, don't say nothing. You'll get suicided too.
Yeah. Well, that's what Jeffrey Epstein's the big one too, right?
Yeah.
Did that. They all say that was like, and a lot of people, I think it's kind of fading away, but that was a big deal for a while. Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself.
Yeah. It was like a meme.
Yeah.
Or whenever like someone would say something, you're like, that's clearly not true. You wouldn't even have to say it. You just put the meme up. Oh, and Epstein killed himself. Kind of like, yeah.
And we still haven't seen his client list.
Yeah.
We still haven't seen his client list.
Yeah. Interesting.
He was, but he was accused of loving a bunch of young ladies.
Yeah. Young, not 22-year-old, consensual, ladies consenting.
Yeah. No.
But way younger. And facilitating that love, quote unquote, to other adults to love them.
Right. And we don't know who...
on an island or something. And
yeah, on a jet. And yeah. So, but speaking of which, you mentioned we got to talk about what happened Saturday night when we went to the Roger Waters concert.
Yeah, that was a good concert.
Yeah, that was a good concert.
I love how clear of a message that guy has. Like, you don't have to wonder, like, what's his stance on this or that. Like, and that's something a lot of people don't do. And I'm like, I like that about him. You don't have to agree with this stuff, entirely, but go ahead.
He has some firmly held political beliefs for sure. And the Roger Waters he was the singer from Pink Floyd.
He was one of the original
songwriters.
Well, yeah, one of the original singer-songwriters for the band Pink Floyd. Yeah,
he and David Gilmour. So Pink Floyd's known for their visual show at live shows, and Roger Waters didn't disappoint. He had this crazy
laser lights and
this big screen that was shaped a certain way, and there was always stuff, and a lot of it was political messages on the thing. And
yeah, but here's what I'll say. With the political message, when people hear Roger Waters as political, he does get political. Here's the thing I noticed, though, that most people who complain about that won't say. When he had the pictures of the past 8 or 9 presidents up there, and it said, like, big words, fucking murderer.
Yeah, he's calling them all war criminals.
Yeah, and it literally said the words, like, fucking murder. It had, like, a body count of how many, he didn't segregate it. There was Democrat from Reagan to Bush, Nixon to Clinton to Trump to Obama to Biden was like future fucking murderer, the next one. But like, it wasn't party based. It wasn't like they were all Republican or conservative. Yeah. Like, it was all of them.
It was mostly just anti-violence. Most of his message was he's just totally against violence.
Yeah, the whole overall thing was, let's stop fucking killing each other and love people. Yeah. Like, now he has a very abrasive way and very blatant way of putting that out there, because nowadays you have to. But the big message was that.
Yeah.
Like, let's stop fucking killing each other and let's love people.
Yeah.
Like, that was basically the gist of it, if you look at it all.
Yeah, it was, the music was good. I didn't mind. I didn't agree with every message that he was putting out, and I think I said this to you when we were watching it, is like, it didn't offend, like, the stuff that he put up didn't offend me. The stuff that he put up that I disagreed with didn't offend me, because I thought of it as, look, he feels that way. I feel a different way about it. I don't know that I'm right. Maybe he's right. Maybe I'm right. Who fucking knows? But these passions that he has is what's creating his art. And I like his art.
This music we get to enjoy, it came out of this piece of him.
Yeah. And there's a lot of bands like that I completely disagree with their politics, but they're some of my favorite bands. Like, there's this band called Cake from the 90s. They tour still sometimes.
Yeah.
I love their music. But to me, they're opposite. They have an opposite political leaning than I do. Same thing with Rage Against the Machine. Although I used to probably enjoy Rage Against the Machine's politics when I was younger, because their general message is basically anti-establishment, anti-authority, and I sometimes still like those ideas.
What teenager doesn't like that idea?
Yeah. So, but
do what you want.
Yeah, but it doesn't bother me that those are their political that we disagree on that, because those passions are what created their art that I love. So it doesn't matter.
And sometimes you need those narratives and messages, because shit has got so one-sided politically or socially that you need something that abrasive and sharp to knock that shit back to the middle and hit the pendulum back the other way too.
Yeah.
Because anytime anything's all one-sided, if it's only all liberal or only all conservative, that's how you get the Hitlers of the world.
Yeah.
Where it's all one way, and if you have a voice that's different, we're going to fucking kill you and your family.
Right.
Like, it can't go too far where everything is all in the camp of one side or the other. Like, it never works out.
It's got to be a balance, yeah. Some people have argued that that's why, there's a lot of complaints about our two-party system here in the United States, but I've heard the argument that, yeah, it's supposed to be that way. There's supposed to be people on the far left. There's supposed to be people on the far right and people that are in the middle, because, the folks on the far left and the folks on the far right, those are extreme ideas. But if we put them together, we're going to find that proper balance.
Yeah. Or get closer to it. Or
Yeah.
get closer to it than the two extremists on left and right, who they're not budging at all.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what good's going to go there? It's like, well, who can kill the other one fastest? That's how that works.
Right.
And there we go again.
Yeah, there we go back to killing. And yeah.
Well, and the thing with Roger Waters in his concert, it was, like you said, like very anti-government, not just American government, but governments all over the world. And historically speaking, he's right. Governments do fucking kill people.
Mm-hmm.
They do it all the time. They've always done it. And when he was playing the song Money, which is a great song by Pink Floyd, there were these big cartoon pigs in suits, like bankers kind of thing, like big industry execs kind of, and they were like these evil looking pigs, and he's singing about money and all this. And I remember on the screen, right in the middle of the song, big old bold white words came up, and it said, "The pigs are going to fucking kill us all."
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I wish I had my phone out for that. That was like, wow, that was really like kind of funny to see. But it's like, well, he's not entirely wrong, because that has happened.
Yeah.
And that stuff does get funded, and there are people in power who will get certain politicians in power to bend laws to be to their will, or they'll pay off another politician to do it, or they'll pay someone to get you out of office by any means and put someone else in there who will do their bidding. Mm-hmm. So he's not entirely wrong.
Yeah.
I didn't know enough about any of the cases he cited in his songs and the narrative to go, oh, that's all right or that's all wrong. There's probably some truth to what he's saying. But it depends on also, like, well, how are we looking at that, and what exactly? There was no definite, exact, like, here's exactly what I'm saying about this exact thing, and everyone here knows enough about that case to know that this is right.
Well, he also didn't offer any solutions either.
No, it was very like, they're gonna fucking kill us all, with beautiful music.
Yeah, it was a good show though. Well, we had an omen before the show though. There was an omen.
Oh my God!
I gotta tell this story. So, Brian and I, we live north of Dallas. The show was in Dallas. We don't get downtown very often. I think we were talking about it when we got down there. We were like, I don't get down here very often.
We never go down there, yeah.
It'd been a few years since I'd been down there. But anyway, we get down there and we're like, hey, we should get something to eat before we get into the show. And it's like, well, what should we do? You want to do barbecue? Yeah, let's do barbecue. So I'm driving. Brian looks up on his phone for local barbecue joints. And there's a chain here in Dallas called Dickey's Barbecue. We talked that day. I actually met Mr. Dickey. That's a whole nother story. But it's a big chain here in the Dallas area. I think in other parts of the country too. It originated in Dallas. Okay, yeah, that's fine. That's a safe bet. Let's go to Dickey's.
We've been there. We know it's good.
Yeah, let's go to Dickey's. So we navigate over to Dickey's, and on the side of the building is a a mural of a prism and light coming through it and a rainbow coming out the other end.
Just like the Pink Floyd album cover for
like,
Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of Pink Floyd's brands.
It's their biggest visual they've ever had, I think. It's the triangle prism, white light going in one side, and then a prism of rainbow colors coming out the other.
Yeah. And I remember just being blown away by that, thinking, I was saying out loud, I was like, that is a freaking omen, dude. Like, we're going to see Roger Waters tonight. I've never seen a Dickies with a Pink Floyd prism on the side. I was blown away by that. I was like, this is crazy. This is definitely where we
painted
need to go
on the side of the Dickies wall outside.
Yeah. So we get in there.
And now the lines on the Pink Floyd picture, the rainbow colors, they're straight. This one was like wavy, so someone had altered it slightly. But it was the same. They would have never had that if not for Pink Floyd.
Yeah, those lines were not straight. So we get in there. We get in there.
Well, on the way there, before that, like a quarter mile away, before we turned onto the street, we passed some like little red building, and it said something about.
I think it was a Rainbow Room.
It was like studs something, and it had the word love in thick rainbow font on the outside. I'm like, dude, I think that's a gay bar.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we both agreed. Yeah, that's probably a gay bar.
That's probably a gay bar. Like, yeah. And so
like,
then
whatever, let's get to Dickies.
So we get to Dickies. Okay, and then we get to Dickies.
We get in, and Dickies is known for their yellow cups. They give you a plastic cup. It's like a souvenir cup.
Bright yellow cups. It's their brand.
Yeah, this particular day, they were pink cups. We're standing in line. I was like, oh, they got pink cups. Maybe it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month or something. Oh, that's cool. So we're like, oh, whatever, and we get our food, and it also happened. Happy belated birthday to Brian. It was Brian's birthday that day too, and so
Daniel picked up the bill.
I decided, to, just pick up. Hey man,
thank you
birthday.
by the way.
Here you go. And then I went to the bathroom. You grabbed my tray and brought it over to the table for me.
Well, because she handed them both to me, and you had gone to get something else. So I'm like, oh, I'll take those.
Yeah, and then we sit down, and then you realize you're like, hey man, this is Oaklawn. This is Oaklawn is like the neighborhood, the gay neighborhood in Dallas.
Well, apparently, I don't know, but that day it was.
Yeah, no, Oaklawn is known to be.
Is it known?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, you're like, we're in Oaklawn.
Well, I totally believe that now. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the gayborhood. And so we were like, whatever, let's eat our food and get to the concert. But then I realized the next day, it totally looked like we were on a freaking date. I mean, we're in the gayborhood at the gay Dickies.
And we're like, why do they call it? Now we know why they call it Dickies.
We're out on your birthday.
On my birthday, and you paid for
it. Yeah. We
and
probably held the
cups.
door for each other,
I don't think either of us, if there's a gay look, I don't think either of us has it. Like, I don't do like a Freddie Mercury mustache. And I'm not stereotyping, I'm having fun. I have gay friends, so if you're offended, chill the hell out. I don't think there's anything about us that looks that way.
Except for that we were in the gay Dickies eating together.
Yeah. I did get the ribs, not the sausage, though.
Yeah.
But that's an after.
Sold out of sausage.
But after that, we're like, dude, that probably looked a way that really wasn't. Like, things can really look one way. I mean, dude, somebody could literally go, dude, like, somebody from like an old church I used to go to could go, dude, I saw Brian Fleming in the gayborhood, the gay part of Dallas, at a Dickies barbecue with a guy who was buying his dinner for him, and they're drinking out of pink cups, and
their wives weren't there.
Their wives weren't there.
Yeah.
I wonder if their wives knew.
They were laughing with each other.
They were laughing.
Yeah.
Brian was carrying his tray for him.
The other guy paid.
Yeah. Like, that could be so spun. And like, no, we're both married to beautiful women. And we love them. And we have fun having sex with them. Yeah. Because we're men who are into women. That happens to be who we are.
But it goes to show that we talk about this a lot on the podcast. Things aren't always as they seem.
Oh, and they rode together. They took one car.
Yeah,
they rode together.
Car, yeah.
Well, why'd they split up? Why didn't they just both drive their own car? Because parking, American Airlines Center, Roger Waters in Dallas. That's why.
Yeah. Yeah, they were going to a concert together afterwards.
Yeah, what concert was that?
Yeah.
Wait, is Roger Waters gay too? Right. Like, whoa, wait a minute. Roger had nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what was really funny. This is how I knew I think I was going to have a great time with that concert. In the beginning of the concert, like 10 to 15 minutes beforehand, when it was counting down, he would make an announcement in Roger's voice and big words on the screen. Hey, welcome to the show, everybody's got the British accent. We'll be starting in 15 minutes. Then we'll be starting in 10 minutes. Then we'll be starting in 5 minutes. When he's like, we'll be starting in 2 minutes. And he said, by the way, 2 things before we start. I thought this was really funny. He goes, and he's not on stage yet. We can just hear his voice. Number 1, please turn off your cell phones to be courteous to, your fellow fans, which nobody did. And most people are just too stoned to do that anyway. But he goes, and secondly, if you're one of those fans who says, I really love Pink Floyd's music, but I really hate Roger Waters' politics, you do well to go fuck yourself and find the bar.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's pretty funny. Because he's like, oh, you paid all this money to come to the concert. If you don't like it, go fuck yourself and go find the bar. It's like, he gets so much shit for his political views, and hey, he's probably tired of it.
Yeah, we figured out the next day, too, that he was on the Joe Rogan podcast 2 days prior.
Yeah, here in Texas, yeah.
Yeah, he must have stopped by Austin on the way. I've been meaning to go back and listen to that episode.
Yeah,
that's probably good now that I know how strongly he holds his politics.
Yeah, I mean, to me, when people talk about his politics, he didn't say anything that was so detrimental or abrasive where I'm like, I'm never listening to that music again. Mm. I mean, you would have to seriously be like, we should kill this entire people group. Let's go. You would have to say something like that for me to go, yeah, dude, I can't support that.
Yeah.
If he comes through town again, I'll probably go back to his concert. If he comes next year, I don't know. I mean,
he's getting old, dude. He's 80. I think he's 80.
He's still rocking too, man.
Yeah.
The dude looked like he's in pretty good shape for being as old as he is too.
Yeah.
He looked like he took care of himself.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was a good time though. It was a good time.
Yeah, so I mean, he could be seeing what he's doing as love. He's like, well, here's all this horrible shit I see. My way of loving the world is telling everyone to stop fucking killing each other, stop supporting the government institutions that are enforcing these things and doing these things. Mm-hmm. And, that would be kind of relative to, I would imagine he sees that as a loving act.
Yeah, he's going out and using his platform to spread the word.
Yeah.
Let's stop killing each other.
Stop killing and hating these people and those people. And he listed every people group known to man.
Yeah.
Except white people, because apparently we're the devil. But, but basically every disenfranchised group of people or a people group who might be oppressed. Sure. He went through all of them, And so it's kind of I don't disagree with that. Let's love people. Let's.
Yeah, that's hard to argue with. I saw, speaking of that, white people being what is the word that you used? We're the only non-disenfranchised group.
Oh, the non-discriminate, when it comes to race, generally people who have a problem, who are not white, it's of course you don't have a problem. You have all the white privilege and you're white and you run it. That's dude, that's all. You could break that down in so many ways where you're just so fucking wrong.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
It's we're the only group nobody will defend. And the worst racism I've ever seen or experienced was literally black against white. Even me personally, I didn't even know the fucking people. Mm-hmm. I'd be your friend if you weren't such a dick, Yeah. What are you trying to steal from me for? What are you trying to hurt me for? I don't even know you.
Well, I saw, it was just Columbus Day on Monday, and
and that's not universal. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. And a lot of people, especially, I don't remember this being a thing when I was a kid, but maybe I was just insulated from it because I was a kid. But recently, a lot of people are it's not Columbus Day, it's Indigenous Peoples Day. Columbus stole the Indigenous people's land.
Yeah.
Well, that's how the world has always been up until recently. Every piece of land was stolen
been owned
from
by
somebody else.
But who owned the indigenous land before the last indigenous people who Columbus took it from? Yeah. Warring Indian tribes were constantly killing each other and taking each other's land.
Right.
Now a white guy comes along and does it to them, and it's that's the bad thing. It's dude, they were doing it to each other too. Yeah. It doesn't justify it, and I'm not saying that, but like you said, everyone's always done that. Right. Unfortunately.
Well, this particular meme that I was that I'm describing is I can't remember how they put it, but basically the point was the Mayans were here in certain areas of North America before Columbus came. And they made the point that the Mayans killed up to 86,000 people sacrificed, human sacrifices.
Like
before Columbus came.
Put you on a rock and cut you open.
Yeah, and Columbus
like babies too.
He put a stop to that. Like the Mayans stopped doing that. So
the human sacrifice.
And if you look at like Comanche Indians, well, they don't call themselves Indians. The Native Americans, the tribe that was Comanche, they were brutally violent with each other, with other tribes, and everything else. So it's just not that cut and dry. I don't think that. Oh, everybody was over here having a good time, living peacefully.
Then white people came and fucking killed a bunch of Indians.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but no. But you realize they did the same thing to each other.
Yeah, it was a lot more violent here before Columbus came than after.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, either way, we know they were fucking violent because they're human like us.
Yeah.
And then over in Europe, we were violent. Our ancestors are violent, killing each other.
For sure. Yep.
England and France, they've never liked each other.
And if anybody's heard of Genghis Khan, I mean,
that was over in Asia.
Like 1 in 5 people are a descendant of Genghis Khan or something like that. Because he was just out raping and pillaging the whole, everywhere that he could go.
Yeah, and he went a lot of places.
Yeah. The Mongols.
Yeah.
What's his name? You ever listen to Hardcore History by...
George Carlin?
No, not George Carlin. It's called Hardcore History. It's a... I'll have to.
That's a different one.
Yeah,
okay.
But he's a historian. He doesn't call himself a historian, but he's a historian.
Okay.
That tells the story of these wars. You'd love it, man. It really paints a picture of like these battles and stuff.
Hardcore history. Okay.
Yeah, but Dan Carlin. I think his name's Dan
Oh,
Carlin.
Dan Carlin. No, George Carlin's the comedian who I think is awesome too.
I was wondering,
Dan
how did
Carlin.
you come up with George Carlin?
No, Carlin.
Dan Carlin.
Carlin was the name though that I was thinking of.
Yeah. Hardcore History. He does one on It's a 3-part series on the Mongols, which is where Genghis Khan was the emperor.
Oh, yeah. I'm already subscribed. Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
I don't know if he's put out new stuff, but that's a fascinating story, man. Of the Mongols going and just basically conquering everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't justify any group of people who's ever done that, but you can't sit back and be like, oh. No, everybody hasn't done that. It's like everybody did it.
Yeah.
No matter your color, no matter your creed, no matter your religion, no matter your culture, like your people have killed other fucking people, and so have ours.
But and that's that's true. So that's one layer to the point, and then the other layer is, even if it was Europeans or white people or whatever that did they were the only group that did all that terrible stuff. I didn't fucking have anything to do with that.
Yeah.
I wasn't there.
I wasn't there too, like 1,000 years ago or 200 years ago. Or
if you see me going and killing a bunch of like minorities, then
that's different.
It's okay to have a problem with me, but I didn't do it, man.
Yeah. And you know what? Like when I was growing up, like every black person I ever met was like trying to fight me. Like I literally, until I was 15, I didn't know a black person who wasn't violent and trying to hurt me.
Yeah.
So like I was never racist, but I'm like, you stay the fuck away from those people.
Sure.
And but that doesn't mean every black person is that way. I have so many black friends now where like, well, those assholes I met when I was younger, they don't represent this guy because he's cool. He's a nice guy. Like, he's nice. He's respectful. He's like me. It's just his skin is different colored.
Yeah.
But like, I don't hold those people against him and go, oh, he's one of them because of his skin color. Because that'd just be fucking stupid.
Yeah.
But people do that to us because they're white, and it's like, oh, you must have had an advantage. Like, advantage, bitch? Do you know my fucking life story?
Yeah,
do you have any idea where the fuck I'm from and what I've been through in my life?
Yeah.
Like, you think I've had any privilege? Like, you're the fucking idiot. Like,
most people that have been in the Army didn't live a privileged life. We joined the Army for a reason. Did you see, though, speaking of the black on white deal, you know who Don Lemon is? He's an anchor on CNN.
I've heard his name.
All right, so he's an African American guy. He's an anchor on CNN. After Queen Elizabeth died, he was interviewing some official from Britain. Going, hey, what do you think about? A lot of people are calling for reparations for the black people because, in particular. England or is it Britain? They were responsible for tons of slaves, and there's so many slaves being used, and
What, like centuries ago kind of thing?
Yeah, and by the kingdom.
Yeah, yeah.
And he said, a lot of people. So, what are your thoughts on reparations? And the lady was like, perfectly. She answered it perfectly. I'll have to find this clip and send it to you. But she goes, you know what? Yeah, I agree. Slave trade and all that slave business was terrible. It was horrible. But let me point out a couple things to you. She goes, number one, Britain was the first country to stop using slaves. But also, you have to look at the entire supply chain. She said it was Africans that began the slave trade. Africans were out on the beach selling other Africans to the Europeans.
Yeah, black people selling black people to white people.
Right.
Yeah.
And so she's like, yeah, it's all terrible. It's all horrible. But if you want the reparations, let's go to the very beginning of the supply chain, and it's the Africans that owe other Africans reparations, because if there was no market for it, then then none of us would have had slaves.
Well, what were you doing, selling your own people?
Yeah, there's a whole story behind that. I think.
But you see, nobody thinks that way when they hear like, oh, reparations. It's like nowadays, it's like, bitch, you just want free money. Like you're lazy, you're a piece of shit. Like you want money that you didn't earn because you're fucking 9th grandfather down the line was a slave. Like shit, so was mine. I have Irish roots, man. My white ancestors, they were enslaved at one point. Sure. Well, shit, Dublin, get over here. I want some reparations, man.
Yeah.
Like Ireland, come on, give it to me. You know what they're gonna tell me? They're gonna smash a beer bottle over my fucking head.
Yeah. Well, we live in
classic Irish fashion.
We live in a world now where we've recently had a black president, and I mean,
it's better than ever.
There are tons of very successful black people at the highest level. We had a black president, but I can cite a bunch of other examples. It's like, well, if he did it, what is he doing? Is he less black or something? I guess he is only half black. But
the people who disagree with people who are black, they have a good point. They go, oh, he ain't black. You know, people are saying that like about Ben Carson. Oh, he ain't black.
That's what Joe Biden says. You hear him say that?
Oh yeah, Joe Biden's like, you don't vote for me, you ain't
black.
No, I mean other black people going, oh, you're not black because you're a black guy who's not fitting our narrative.
Yeah.
If
there's any black people out there that are offended, please don't get it wrong. Brian is not.
You shouldn't be getting
racist.
anything wrong.
I'm not racist.
I'm just as hard on people of my color who are idiots.
Yeah.
And skinheads and Nazis.
Right. Yeah.
But like here's the thing. To have a good discussion, a productive one, you have to look at both sides objectively.
Yeah.
And we've seen a lot of, the one-sided narrative of, the BLM stuff. Like, we all agree that shit that caused that was bad and wrong. We all agree.
Just like if the Ku Klux Klan went out and did a bunch of riots, we'd
fuck yeah, I would be against them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But people don't like to speak of the other side. Well, the other side exists. Mm-hmm. Like, nobody talked about, like, hey, little Brian Fleming when he was 10, 11 years old, and, he was being pursued by people of other colors because they wanted his fucking bikes and they wanted to steal his pegs, and he was getting into fights with them when he didn't do anything. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, now he doesn't, now he thinks this of black people. It's like, it's called survival, man. Like, if it's World War II and you see someone walking around with a Nazi flag on the cuff of their sleeve, and you're Jewish, you'll probably do well to stay away from them.
Yeah.
It's not because the Jewish person's racist against Germans. They don't want to die.
Right. Right.
And so it's like...
So you're saying, like, where you grew up, there was a lot of bad people, and most of them were black. But they weren't bad because they were black. They were just bad people. And
they weren't bad because they're black. Like, I had more black people try to pick fights with me than white people ever did. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know. I'm like, I knew white people who were bad, too.
Yeah.
But the only ones I encountered who were black happened to be people who were acting that way. So they were different than me for the first time in my life, and they happened to be this way.
Yeah.
So survival tells you, hey, you might want to be careful.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
there's the whole, like, sometimes my black friends will joke and be like, yeah, man, like, I'll be walking down the street and people just part the way, man. I don't have to even cross the street. And I'm like, dang, man, that's messed up. And I'm like... But it's like, well, if I was 15 years old and there was a group of black people where I come from, I would probably try to cross the street because I don't want to get my ass kicked or get my shit stolen, because that was the only life experience I'd ever had with them. Now, at this point, at 38 years old, I've had many great experiences with many great black people, and I love my black friends. There is, like...
You got more context.
I got way more context and life experience than going, oh, they're not all that. But when you're like, for example, that young, you just know what your experience tells you.
Yeah.
Because somebody could have told me all day, no, they're all great people, they're all friendly. But my life experience was, no, they're not. But it was a limited life experience.
Sure.
Now, if I grew up around friendly black people, that would have been my experience with them.
Yeah, if they were more friendly to you than white people were, then you would
Exactly.
You would have been going out seeking them out. Like, oh look, some black people.
Yeah, exactly.
Talk to them.
I'd have been like Steve Martin in that one movie where he thinks he's black and he's traumatized when he finds out in the family picture. It's what was it called, The Jerk or something? Steve Martin, a white comedian, he grew up thinking he was black, and he's in all the pictures. The family pictures with his black family, and like he never noticed that he looks different a little bit. Like he just never acknowledged it, and then he's like, "Wait, what?" He's in his like 50s.
That's like that Dave Chappelle skit. Have you seen that one?
Oh,
the leader of the Ku Klux Klan is a black dude. He's a blind black dude.
Clayton Bigsby.
Yeah.
The word. Oh wait, he called it the world's first black white supremacist.
Yeah,
and he was
blind.
He was a blind black guy.
He didn't know he was black. Yeah. they stink and I hate them.
Oh my god. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a good.
See,
skit.
like that's funny shit. And like, now I wouldn't go make a skit like that, but Dave Chappelle can, and I wouldn't do that. But yeah, I love people no matter their color, obviously. But we also can't, like I said, we also can't deny our own life experience. My first interaction with most Middle Easterns was in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Now, some of them were trying to fucking kill us. Others would take a bullet for us because they hated the fucking Taliban as bad as we did.
Sure.
So it's like, I got both sides of that going, okay. And I even know some now who are Middle Eastern who actually have been in the American military. I have one friend in particular who was born in Iraq. He's Iraqi. He lives here. After being an interpreter, he was able to join the US Army. He was an infantry guy. He was an 11 Charlie. And
Mortarman.
Yeah. And that was after everything. So it's like, when I think of him, I'm like, well, he's one of the best dudes I know. One of the best dudes I literally, other than you, like literally one of the best people I've ever met.
Yeah.
Now I could go, oh, those fucking Taliban, all those, Middle Easterns, they're crazy ass Muslim, demonic religion and killing people. Like, dude, that's not him at all.
Yeah.
Like, and the other ones I know, like, that's not the ones I know. That's not them either.
Yeah.
So like,
we have more in common with each other than we have differences. It's just when we focus on the differences,
yeah,
that's where hate happens.
Well, and it can be so spun out of context, and people can be like radicalized and called to arms. And if you scare people bad enough, like they'll take action beside you for whatever your cause is. Yeah. If you scare them enough, like they'll move in the direction you want them to.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I mean, I'll be the first to admit, like I make racist jokes all the time. Like I wouldn't be able to publish any of like some of the jokes that I tell. But I don't usually seek out like one specific race. My wife's Vietnamese. I've got friends of all ethnicities. But to me, it's fucking funny to make fun of our differences, right?
It is.
I make fun of white people. I make fun of black people. I make fun of Asian. I make fun of everybody.
Including ourselves.
Funny. Yeah, it's funny. And I hate that we're here at a place and time where it's like, we're just tiptoeing on eggshells so that we don't hurt really sensitive people's feelings. Like yeah. And my biggest point in that is like, and I have a hard time articulating this sometimes, but if you're so sensitive that me just saying words is gonna make you flip a lid and blow a gasket, and I'm not saying you particularly, but anybody, then you're a really weak person, and you're giving me control over you. Because if all these outside things are going to affect your well-being,
pull your emotions, play you like that,
and I've got power over you,
Yeah.
And like, for example, like this is probably this is very touchy. This might even make people upset, but like the N word, right? I'm thinking of like the worst word that you can say, and the N word is up there on the list.
Yeah.
If I was a black person, and I'm not, admittedly, I don't understand what it's like to be black, but I would never let that word get to me. Never. You could use it around me all day long. I don't care, because that's an outside influence, and I'm in control of my emotions, my well-being, everything else.
Well, and
nobody else can just make a noise with their mouth and
trigger
fucking ruin my day.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of your friends who are your color, are saying it too. It's like, well, why does the context or connotation change if you're not the same color? Like, I get the reasons on the surface, but like there are black friends I have where we'll joke about the differences, and it's like, oh, being white this, and it's like, oh, being black that. Bill Burr is a perfect example. He's a white comedian with red hair, married a black lady. If you go on YouTube and type in Bill Burr black people, he has one of the funniest fucking comedy bits ever. He talks about like keeps going up in New York City, up the streets numbers get higher and the people get darker. And he talks about all his friends, like he hangs out with his black friends, and they're like, every day they got a brand new set of shoes and a shirt that matches the hat, and he just shows up in this thing he ironed, and then they're all like, oh man, is that the only shirt you own, you poor bastard? Because they like all their stuff matches, and he goes like all these things that are like stereotypically black but true. Everyone's laughing because we all know it's true.
Yeah.
Like, despite the fact he married a black lady, but like he's putting those out there, and it's like, well, you can't deny it, and he's doing it in such a funny way that like comedy allows you to not get murdered sometimes. Like, I think that was the thing with court jesters back in the days of royalty. Like the jester could say shit about the king and joke haphazardly, kind of tongue in cheek, without getting his head sawed off.
Yeah, it's
nobody else would dare
stuff to him though. Like,
yeah,
he's
but
getting a message. Yeah,
nobody else would dare say what he said. But he said, who said it? It's like somebody had a quote. I can't even think of it right now. But it was something like, "If you want to say something offensive, make it funny. If you want to get away with it, pretty much."
Sure. My wife's Vietnamese. I make Asian jokes all the time in my life.
But your wife knows you love her. Like, there's obviously not an issue there.
Yeah, she knows I love her, but she also knows she's a bad driver. She's great at math. We do eat a ton of rice. I eat rice every day.
She's way smarter than we are.
Yeah. There's a lot of little stereotypes that fit the bill with my wife. But me too, like...
She can say white jokes against you about, how you white people are.
Yeah, what's a white stereotype? It's probably true about me too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what a white stereotype is, but...
Probably because we don't say them very much. Maybe we should start...
We need to talk to a group of another ethnicity.
We need to go find
a ton of them
all our black friends and be like, give us the worst white jokes you've got, and we'll like make an episode about it.
Hey, that'd be a good episode.
That'd be fun.
We'll do like a roast battle.
That'd be funny.
Oh, no holds barred roast battle. Let's get
the thing is,
let's get as racist as possible.
Dude, there's so many like complimentary things that would be considered racist though with like other like racists, like black people, for example. Like many of them I meet are very self-respecting. Many of them family oriented, not all of them obviously. Man, you ever get invited like to dinner with a black family? That shit's probably going to be good, especially if you're like south of, let's say, Ohio, and you're in the South.
Yeah.
Fucking people can cook. Hey.
Not all of them.
Not all of them.
Yeah.
But many of them.
Yeah.
Many of them. Many great athletes are black. It's like, dude, like, a lot of them, now I'm being complimentary. Yeah. I'm being complimentary, but people could go, oh, that's offensive. You're saying all white or all black people are good athletes. And like, well, that's like saying, oh, Asians are good at math. That's called a fucking compliment.
Not all of them, but
how do you call it? Racist?
Of them, yeah.
Enough where we all go, those are some smart people. Those are some fast people. Those people are good at cooking. Or at least our experience. Or they're good, but even if you say it and it's a complimentary thing, there are still whiny people who will complain. Yeah. I mean, that's like complimenting me on something I'm really good at and going, oh, you just compliment me on that because I am good at that. Are you complimenting me because I'm white? Yeah. It's like, why would I have a problem with a compliment? If it's like a detriment, if I'm taking a dig at you and I'm being serious, that's one thing. But going, hey, my wife is really good at math, and she's Asian, like,
And a bad driver.
she is, you know.
Yeah.
But like, again, this goes back to the love thing. What is love, or whatever the original question was? If somebody's saying something like that, are they doing it from a place of love and humor, or are they doing it from a place of, we don't fucking like you because of how you look?
Yeah, it all boils down to your intent.
Yeah.
Right?
And before you go misinterpreting something, like, talk to somebody, ask them, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, that's where people get confused or offended or angry, I think, is a misunderstanding of the intent.
Or they're told what the intent, like, if I make a joke, and somebody of a different color is told, well, if a white guy tells that joke, this is the intent he means.
Yeah.
Now, you never asked me what I meant.
Right.
And you can't just blanket statement that. And that could be from any race to any direction. I mean, I remember when I lived in South Korea. Yeah, you know, I didn't receive any particular bad experiences from them. But they definitely favor themselves over me as a loud fucking American. Now, you could be on the subway going through Seoul, and you could hear a fucking pin drop. And then you hear noise, and you go, oh, American soldiers coming on in 2, 1. A group of drunk American soldiers. And the stereotype is what? We're loud and drunk.
Yeah.
And we are.
You're not wrong, yeah.
You're not wrong. So it's like...
That's what American soldiers do when they're not soldiering.
Yeah, we get drunk and we well, in Korea, you know, you're hanging out with Asian ladies. And even marrying some of them.
Drinking soju.
Yeah, exactly. Soju. Boy, that was a hell of a drug.
Yeah.
It's basically like...
It's not a wine, is it?
No, it's like a Korean vodka. It's basically like... It's kind of like sake in Japan, I think is what it'd be comparable to.
Yeah. It's stronger than beer, but not quite as strong as tequila.
Yeah, I don't know. It might depend on who's making it. But yeah, it's known as powerful stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, soju, that's some good stuff.
Yeah, but even over in Korea, like, I had a white guy stereotype reputation that I was definitely judged on.
Sure.
And so it's not from one color to another. We all stereotype all of each other. And if there's a group of like 50 people who are the same color or same ethnicity, and I walk in the room and I'm different. They said they're all black or they're all Asian. And I walk in and I'm white. Most of them will probably have an inclination to trust each other more than me. Not because I've given them any reason to think otherwise, just because I'm different.
Yeah.
In this case, until they get to know me, visually speaking. And like, well, I don't judge people for judging me. They're like, well, of course they do. The thing is, we all do it.
Yeah.
You know,
I had an experience in downtown Dallas when I first moved to Texas about 15 years ago. I didn't know a single soul. I had no friends here. You know, the only people I knew were my kids. So I came to Dallas. I didn't know anybody. And, you know, I'm not going to sit in my apartment all day. So I decided to go out one night. I went to downtown. I didn't know where to go. I'm walking around. I find this club. The sun hadn't even gone down yet. I find this club, and I'm like, maybe I'll hang out in here. I went in. You know, I paid a $5 cover charge. There's like 3 or 4 people in there. I was like, okay, well, I've got my wristband. I'm going to go explore and see if there's somewhere else. Sun went down. I was like, there's nowhere else. I'm going to go back to this club. I walk in. The place is packed. The place that I paid the cover charge for an hour and a half ago is now packed. The music's bumping. Everything's cool. I walk in, and it's almost like the record stopped because, yeah, I was the only non-African-American person in that room. But I walked in, and everybody stopped and looked at me and waited to see what I was going to do. You know,
are you gonna turn around and run?
Yeah, I was like, oh, fucking wrong place. Sorry, you know.
No. Or you're gonna play it cool, and we're gonna make new friends.
Yeah, so it's like, that all ran through my mind. I was like, oh, everybody's looking at me. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna play it cool and keep walking in. And I went in. I had some drinks. There was before the term twerk was even coined. There was a nice twerking competition going on, and the music was good.
Yeah, definitely weren't white.
Strong.
Definitely weren't white ladies.
And I had a great time, man. I had a great time by myself.
Hell yeah!
I ended up making a few friends in there because, you know, I was the elephant in the room. It was like everybody assumed that I was going to leave, and I didn't. And so everybody was kind of keeping an eye on me for a while, and then an hour or two in, it was like,
Well, you're talking to people,
I'm
getting to know
enjoying
them.
the twerk competition too. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Look at these booties bouncing.
Or and as they're talking to you, as you're talking to people, they're going, "Oh, yeah, he's white, but like he's just like us, and oh, he's new in town too. Like so am I."
Yeah.
And like suddenly you start
seeing similarities.
Yeah, you start seeing the color less and less, and you're like, "Yeah, we're just people." And you're going, "Yeah, she was really good at that." You know, like I agree with you, man. Like, yeah, that number 2, she was great at it.
Do that no hand clap again.
Clapping the cheeks? What? Or what? Yeah. So yeah.
But love each other, everybody. Just freaking love each other.
Yeah, so we don't have to kill each other. And, it's
At a minimum, if we're not gonna love each other, let's just not kill each other.
Yeah, we can do that. We can just like not agree, and it's sort of okay. And if you're in need, I can still help you, or if I am, you can still help me, even if we don't agree. Doesn't mean it's personal, and we have to like disassociate because we don't go to the same club or church, or we're not the same color, or
And this is coming from a couple of guys that are trained to kill. So
yeah,
we're a couple of ex-infantrymen, and we don't like that.
It's the first thing I was ever taught really to do.
Yeah, and that was the craziest thing about basic training for me is like you're brought up, we're all taught like we shouldn't be killing each other, and then when you're 18, you get to basic training, we're singing songs about
cadence,
fucking killing people. Train to kill.
Kill, we will.
What makes the grass grow green?
Blood, bright red blood.
Yeah. So that used to blow my mind. Is like, what are we singing? But
you have to be in that mentality with your group if you're gonna carry out those kinds of wartime missions.
Yeah.
You have to be able to be in that place.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just, here's the handgun, here's the the rifle. Here's a bayonet. Here's all the ways you kill someone with a bayonet.
Mm-hmm.
Here's how you can rip your shoelaces out, and you can strangle somebody with them. And here's hand-to-hand combat. It's all these ways to kill people. They teach us all these ways to kill people.
Yeah.
And then you get out, and it's like, time out. Okay, you're not in war no more. Just stop killing people or wanting to. And then they ask you these questions at the VA. It's like, have you ever had thoughts of killing other people? I'm like, every day. You train me to.
Yeah, it's been drilled in my head.
Like, every day. Like,
daily.
Like, how do I answer this question?
That's my job.
Like, I was trained to do it. That's the only thing they trained me to do was to kill others and not be killed or get my guys killed.
Yeah. Oh, that's something that I wanted to talk about when it came to love is like, because we were just saying about how like, well, at least don't kill each other. And so, the natural progression in that thought process would be like, okay, well, let's get rid of the military. Well, I don't think that's a good idea because
get rid of?
We could say, okay, let's say Biden has a fucking heroic dose of psilocybin mushrooms tomorrow and decides, I get it now. Love's the answer. We got to stop killing people. Well, we still need to have the ability to kill people because
we have to protect ourselves.
Yeah. If the world just agreed, okay, hey, you know what? Let's just stop killing each other. No more war ever. All it takes is one guy.
One shot.
And if we're in that scenario where it's like, nobody's even armed, all it takes is one asshole to begin the violence.
In like
and then we got to counter the violence with violence. So
in 7.5 billion, it just takes one. And trust me, there's way more than one who will.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like, let's all put down our weapons. Okay, you first. No, you first. Because we all know the one who lays it down first, you're about to get conquered.
You're about to get waxed.
Yeah, because we know ourselves and each other way too good. Like we're not putting down our weapons and bombs because when we do, the other side is going to take advantage of it and conquer us. And we know that's what we do. Like no one's willing to go first because they know you can't trust the other side to do it. Yeah. And that's just kind of the bitch of human nature because there is this other side that's so peaceful and good and loving. But we also have this. It's the yin and the yang.
Yep.
Yep,
that's true.
Yep.
Good talk, man. Good episode today, I think.
Yeah, we covered quite a bit, but it did revolve around the, is love really the answer? And, well, what do you mean by love? And how do you define love? And in what situations? And in what context? And it can't be a blanket statement, unfortunately. You can't just blanket it. All we need is love. It's like, yeah, but. And I wish it wasn't, but that's just reality.
Yeah. There needs to be a better definition for love. because, well, all the reasons we outlined. I mean,
Well, everyone has their own opinion on what's a loving thing or not a loving thing, and it might differ from, yours to someone else's.
for sure.
Someone goes, "Oh, spanking your kid's bad." Okay, well, the way I learn is when something fucking hurts, I tend to not do it. And if it's a thing that's going to get me in trouble in 10 years or 15 years as an adult, I'm kind of glad I got the belt. Mm-hmm. Because if I would have gotten time out, I'd have probably given my mother the finger and been like, whatever, this bitch, and I'll just go do what I want anyway. And there was never a consequence till I'm 19 and I did something, and now I can be tried as an adult.
Yeah.
It's like my mother would have been good.
And ruined other people's lives with your behavior or something like
exactly.
that. Exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
So.
Yeah, there's opinions on it.
Yeah.
But hey, if you have a question about life, or a comment, or a bitch, gripe, or moan, as we'd say in the military, feel free to shoot us an email, questionsoboutlifepodcast@gmail.com, questionsoboutlifepodcast@gmail.com. We're always looking for other interesting questions to discuss, and we'd love to hear yours.
Yeah, and if we've said anything today that you disagree with, and you got something that, maybe we hadn't considered, definitely send us a message about that. We'll
leave a comment.
Yeah, we're always open to new ideas and
totally
and fluid in our opinions. So
yeah, we never claim to be right. Yeah. We're just saying, hey, this is what we see.
We're doing our best.
That's right.
We're doing our best.
That's all you can do. So thank you, and we will see you in the next episode.
Thanks for watching, guys.